third grade. Today we're going to check page 235 and talk through the word problems together. Hopefully you did okay with those yesterday as you worked through them. Let's take a look at, first of all, before I did anything, I looked at what the table was telling me, and it talked about how many tickets were sold for every ride at a school carnival. And I thought it was a good idea to number those from the smallest to the biggest. So on the side here, I numbered Crazy Coaster had the least, then the next amount, the next greatest amount, 193, then 229 is next, Monster Mix, then 295, then 298, and the highest amount of tickets was sold for the bumper cars. So I'm going to probably use that in these problems when they ask for the biggest and the smallest. So let's see. Well, the very first question says, how many people went on the two most popular rides? So the two most popular rides, I already ranked them, are Twister and Bumper Cars. So I have to add 301 plus 298, and the answer is 599 people. The total tickets sold for which two rides is 494. In order to figure that out, I'm going to look in the ones place. What two numbers, when I add them together, would end in a 4? So I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to guess and check. 8 plus 9 would end in a 7 because that's 17. 8 plus 3 would end in a 1 because that's 11. 8 plus 5 would end in a 3, that's 13. 8 plus 1 would end in a 9. So nothing is with Twister. Now I'm going to do Monster Mix. I already did Monster and Twister, so I know that's not right. 9 plus 3 ends in a 4. No, it doesn't. That's 12. So that's not going to work. 9 plus 5, that ends in a 4. It's 14. So it might be Monster Mix and Mega Wheel. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, let's check these last two. These two would be 8, and that would be 4. So it could be Crazy Coaster and Bumper Cars, or it could be Monster Mix and Mega Wheel. So now we got to check by doing both of those to see which one it could be. So we're going to check anything that ends in a 4 in the ones place. So 9 plus 5, 229 plus 295. That would be 14. 9 plus 2 is 11 plus 2 is 12. 524? No, too much. So it's not that one. The other option that we thought was 301 plus 193. 3 plus 1 is 4. 0 plus 9 is 9. 3 plus 1 is 4. So it was Bumper Cars. And what was the other one? 193. Crazy Coaster. So sometimes with these problems, you're not going to know unless you guess and check. That's one of the strategies for word problems. You have to guess and check. Let's take a look at number 3. Tickets for Monster Mix and Crazy Coaster were $2 each. How much money did the school earn on ticket sales for these two rides? So we're going to do Monster Mix times 2 and Crazy Coaster times 2 and add them together. So Monster Mix, 229 plus 229 is 458. Crazy Coaster is 193 plus 193, that's 386. I'm going to add those two numbers together, and the answer is $844. Number 4 says, about how many tickets were sold for Twister, Monster Mix, and Mega Wheel? So we're going to be doing some rounding. I did that on my dry erase board here. Monster Mix was 229. I rounded that to 230. Twister was 298. That rounds to 300. Mega is 295. Rounds to 300. Between those, it's around 830 tickets. And then number 5, I did on my dry erase board also. It says the total tickets sold for which 3 rides equals 900. Since that is in the hundreds, an even hundred, I'm going to round all the numbers to hundreds, and then I'm going to see what equals 900. So 298 rounds to 300, 229. Since this is, we're rounding either to 200 or 300. Because this is a 2 and it's less than 5, we're going to round that to 200. Crazy Coaster's 193. This one is either going to stay 100 or go up to 200 because that's a 9. It goes up to 200. 295 rounds to 300, and 301 goes down to 300. Now we want to look at these numbers and add them together so we can get 900. I can see it right away because I know 3 times 3 is 9. So it's Twister, Mega Wheel, Twister, Mega Wheel, and Bumper Cars. Okay, turn the page. Okay, on this page I did the same idea. Before I did anything, I looked at the chart to see what I was talking about. I'm talking about different collections that students have. And I'm going to rank them from the smallest amount of objects to the highest. So I rank them. Shells has the least, then mini cars, then stamps, then rocks, and the button collection has the most. How many objects are in 2 of the smallest collections? I just ranked them, so I know I'm adding shells and mini cars. When I add those together, it's 443 objects. The total number of objects in 2 collections is 760. Use the same idea we did on the other page. I want the ones place to end in a 0, so I'm looking for 2 digits in the ones place that equal 10. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now I'm going to do rocks and shells. 3 plus 8 is 11. It's not that. 3 plus 2 is 5, and 3 plus 5 is 8. Nothing is with rocks. Rocks is out of it. So now I'm going to try stamps with everything. Stamps and shells. 1 plus 8 ends in a 9. We need it to end in a 0. 1 plus 2 ends in a 3, and 2 plus 5 ends in a 7. Keep guessing and checking. I want something that ends in a 10 or 0. Shells. 8 plus 2. Oh, it could be shells and buttons right there because 8 plus 2 is 10. Let's make sure there's nothing else. 8 plus 5 is 13. And then the last 2 mixes would be buttons and mini cars. 2 plus 5 is 7. So it is shells, 198, plus buttons, 0 carry the 1, 16, shells and buttons. Shells plus buttons equals 760. Okay. Are the combined collections of shells and buttons, which is 760, we already know that, greater or less than rocks and stamps? So we have to add up rocks and stamps. 403 plus 371 is 774. So they asked if our rocks and our shells and buttons, which is 760, is less than 774. Is the estimated sum of stamps, shells, and mini cars closer to 700 or 800? Well, I'm going to do all the estimations. So I'm going to write out the 3 things I need: shells, mini cars, and stamps. Then I'm going to round them to the hundreds. 371 is 400, 198 is 200, and 245 is 200. And I'm going to add those up. It's about 800. And the last problem, suppose another student brought in sports cards, and the number of sports cards they have is 154 greater than rocks. Greater means I'm going to add that. So rocks is 403 plus 154. That student has 557 cards. I hope you did a good job with those yesterday. Now that you've practiced them yesterday and checked them today, you are ready to go on to a slideshow and practice some similar problems by yourself. Good luck.